Hey friends, welcome back to the Connected GTM channel. In this video, we're going to dig into creating a daily sales forecast snapshot. And to do that, we're going to try to work around one of the things that you may have found that's challenging in HubSpot, which is getting into historical and trend data. We're going to use a custom object, a workflow with a custom coded action, and a custom report using our custom object and deals. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the end result of what we're doing here, which is going to be a report. And that's going to give us a snapshot day by day of the revenue that we're expecting to close in the next 7 days and the number of deals that are contributing to that revenue. You can also see here that we have it broken down by the deal stage of those deals on each day. And what this is going to allow you to do is see day by day how are we progressing to our bigger end of week, end of month, end of quarter goals, and make sure that we have a pulse on how are things trending, how are deals moving around, and ultimately help us be more proactive and identify the actions that we need to take as a team to make sure we hit our target. So let's get into how we do that. We're going to go over to settings, and we're going to start with creating our custom object and the private app that we'll use for our custom coded action, because we need to set up a private app so that we can access the API securely inside of our HubSpot account. So the first thing here is the private app. All we need to do here, if I go to edit, you'll see we need to give it a name and then set some scopes so that we can write to a custom object, we can read deals, and we can read custom objects. Once you have that, you can commit the changes. That's all that you need to do in your private app. The next thing that I'm going to do is if I go down to objects and custom objects down here at the bottom, you can see that I already have one created called daily forecast. And if I go and edit that custom object, you'll see we have it named, we have given it a description, and the properties that are in this custom object, if you go over here to manage properties, that we've added are the date. This is going to be the primary property on this object, but we're not really going to use it very much because it's not actually a date time property. HubSpot doesn't allow you to have date time properties as the primary custom object property. So we have a separate property called date time, which is actually going to be a date picker property, which we'll use to set the date and use that in our workflow. Then we also have a number property for deals in the next 7 days. And we also have a number property, which is formatted as currency for revenue in the next 7 days. Those are going to be all the things that you need to set up, move ahead, build the workflow and the report. So let's hop over there. We have a workflow here, which is being scheduled to run daily. This is a really nice way to run a recurring process, to use scheduled workflows in HubSpot instead of having to run a server, run a cron job or something like that to schedule it. Scheduling it for midnight in the time of our account. And we are also going to look at our date time property on the custom object and make sure it is less than 1 day from now. So we're going to look at the next object, which is up in the list, and run the workflow on that. And you'll see down here, if I just skip to the second action step here, that in this workflow, we are also going to create a record, create a daily forecast record, set the date to TBD. Again, to mention that's a single line text field that we don't really need. Then we're going to set the date time property to 1 day after this workflow runs. The reason that we need to do this is that we need a new object to be enrolling in this workflow each day. So now that we have that out of the way, we have a workflow that will run on a schedule, and we have an object that's being created to run it the next time. Let's dive into the really interesting part here, which is the custom coded action. If you're new to custom coded actions, you'll notice that there are a couple of things here to pay attention to. Number one, we are using Node.js for this particular example. We are naming our action, giving it a description, which will then show up in the workflow overview, which describes what this action is going to be doing for us. We then have some secrets. We have a HubSpot access token, which was the reason for creating the private app. You'll be able to get that access token from your private app. If I click in here, if you're going to manage secrets, this is where you can come in and you would add the secret value which you were given by your private app. That's going to be the HubSpot access token. We will need that to make authenticated API calls in custom code. I'm going to share this custom code with you so you can just copy paste into your workflow action. But let's take a quick look at what this custom code is doing. I have this set up with a couple of variables which you will need to replace yourself. That is the object type ID, So it's going to be the ID of the custom object that you want to enroll in the workflow. And then we also need the pipeline ID. This is going to be the ID of the deal pipeline, which we want to look at to run our forecast on. So you just need to enter those values here. Then we get into the function itself, and I'm just going to run through this top to bottom. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to fetch all of the deals in the specified pipeline. So if that's our sales pipeline, we're going to go grab all the deals. We're then going to filter to the ones that we want to look at for the next 7 days. So running through filtering by close date to make sure that we're just getting the deals for the next 7 days. Then we can use that to aggregate the values that we want to see. And then we are going to update the custom object because we've already created in this workflow. And we are going to add the property values, some calculated property values to that custom object. So we're going to set both the date and the date time properties, and we're going to set the deals for the next 7 days and the revenue for the next 7 days properties, so that that custom object that we're creating each day has the accurate information as of the time that the workflow is run when it comes to both the revenue that is expected and the number of deals that are contributing to that revenue. One of the really nice things that we can do here is we can also associate the deals that are contributing to those calculations to the custom objects. I'll show you why that's so critical in just a second in our report, but we can do that here in the custom code. And you can see down here at the bottom is where things are actually getting executed. We're still kicking off the process of running this workflow. So inside of a custom coded action, you can also come down here to the bottom and you can test your action. You'll just need to create the first one manually. You'll just need to populate the date. And then when you run this custom code, it will fill in the aggregated values for the properties for revenue and deals, assuming that you have deals in the time frame in your pipeline. So that's the custom coded action. That's the workflow that we're going to use to create the daily forecast custom objects on a daily basis. It's going to be scheduled, automated. We're not going to have to worry about that. And really, that's just going to be sort of a background process, which is really a data aggregation process. Because what we really want as the output here, again, is this daily sales forecast snapshot report. And let's take a look at how we're building that. So if I come in here and customize it, if I go to data sources, you'll see that we have our daily forecasts custom object as the primary data source, and then we have deals as the secondary data source, which is really nice here in a custom report that you can pull in deals. So you can both display them in a table view, but you can also look at values and filter based on values, breakdown based on values from deals when it comes to the daily forecast custom objects. So to do that, we have a combination chart. You could probably use a different chart type here if you wanted, maybe a table or just a vertical bar, but I went with combination. And we are going to put date time, again, the date property, not the plain text, date property on the x-axis. The first y-axis, we're going to have the closed revenue forecast for the next 7 days. So it's going to be the total of all of the deals. That's going to be the total value of all of the deals that are expected to close in the next 7 days. The amount field there is getting aggregated. And we also have the number of deals that we're expecting to close. So if I look at the data here, you can see that for any given day, we have the number of deals and we also have the total amount of the deals. And then the final thing here is breaking it down by deal stage. This can be really helpful to see how accurate actually is this. Is the close date in the next 7 days, but they only just booked a meeting? Very different than a situation where you have a large percentage of your deals that are in waiting to be signed or contract sent type stage. Once you have this report, one thing that I would certainly recommend doing, as I have done here, is adding it to a dashboard. And one big benefit of adding it to a dashboard is you can then choose to email the dashboard, email all of the data in your reports on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, whatever cadence your sales leaders like it. And you can send them an email so they don't have to go set up this information in a spreadsheet. They don't have to come back manually check. They always have that in their inbox to review, see where they are on their forecast. If you enjoyed this video, I'll certainly be creating more like this on using custom coded actions and workflows to avoid having to do hacky things, take data outside of HubSpot, and ultimately build a more connected go-to-market process for your teams. I'll see you next time.